source called Lewis Button. A lot of bands, Pearl Jam and Kiss come to mind, release copious amounts of archival live stuff, which are basically pseudo-official, well no, they're official, bootlegs. Tons of stuff, like look at the Pearl Jam stuff, like for every tour they got all these shows available you can get. And even not going that extreme, plenty of bands release archival footage, well yeah, and archival music, you know, for their fan base. Genesis, despite being one of the all-time biggest selling bands ever, are very stingy with their archive stuff. You know, they don't put anything out. And I know they have shows like soundboard stuff. Their fan base is underserved for that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know what it is, but it's the management. I guess Tony Banks is kind of really artistic about what gets out and what comes out. Now, I hope Tony Banks lives to be 200 years old. But were, you know, something happened to him, you know, God forbid, would we then get the fucking 1981 Duke fucking soundboard album? I don't know. But so because of the very little Genesis live stuff you get, I was thrilled when finally Archive 1 and 2 appeared on Spotify, because they've since gone out of print, those two sets, those two boxes. Well, it's really Archive 1 that is really the one. They've been out of print for a long time, and even when they were out, they're kind of expensive. And what it contains is an entire live show. This is what it was. That's what they sold this as at the time. I remember it. And then, you know, into the 90s, when it came out, 98, 97. It contains an entire Lamb show. I forget where it's from. I'll put it on the screen. But they said there was going to be some overdubs due to the fact that when Peter wore some of his costumes, specifically the Slipper Man, he couldn't get the microphone to his mouth. That's reasonable, right? Still, I was thinking, well, you got to have Pete from, you know, newer Pete. I mean, these overdubs were done in 1995, apparently. So you have us, era Pete, singing, you know, stuff from 1974. It's going to sound weird. It's going to sound different, you know. But anyway, they hear Steve Hackett's doing some overdubs and said, oh, all right, whatever. And I've heard fans throughout the years, because I never got to hear this thing, saying how the overdubs are too much and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, I finally got a hold of it when it appeared on Spotify. It was never here before. What I want to get on Spotify is the latest one with the BBC recordings that they put out a few years ago. I just don't collect physical media. I don't have anything to play it on. All my favorite bands, I've bought all their material 100 times over, seen them live. I put the money in. So these days I just I pay my Spotify bill and just listen to whatever the fuck I want. But so because of that, you know, you have to wait for things to show up. So I listened to this thing, and I don't know how there wasn't more of a outcry at the time. Maybe there was on the Genesis boards or whatever. I wasn't really that active at the time. They had just, it was by the time they came out, it was already after Calling All Stations, which I was like, yeah, I didn't get into. I like it a lot more now, but back then I was just like, I'm done with Genesis. So I wasn't really paying attention, but holy shit, what you have here, this is consumer fraud, man. This is not a live recording from the Lamb tour at all. Maybe there's some kind of artifact, or the drums might be from there, but those don't even sound right. But I'll give them the drums maybe and the bass. But it doesn't matter, because you have 1995 Peter Gabriel singing over 1975 Genesis. he didn't sound like that. His voice changed quite a bit. You know, at the time of The Lamb, if you listen to anything on YouTube, like from the little bit they have, or even, you know, the year prior, he had like a kind of yelpy thing going on. He probably didn't like it, but I thought it was cool. He was a lot more, you know, he was very expressive, and he was trying to do more service to the character of these songs than to try to get everything perfect. But that's fine, that's great. Now you got Peter Gabriel, the artist, you know, in 1995 saying, oh, you know, I don't like that stuff. So he came in and he re-recorded everything. I'd be hard-pressed to find, like, if someone could point out the 1974 vocals to me, you know, maybe they can. I can't hear it at all. I just hear New Pete. And in the 20 years, he's picked up phrasings, the way he pronounces words. Like, you don't have to be a vocalist to understand the changes here, although it helps. But he's a different guy. He sings words differently, just the way, you know, his phrasing, the whole deal, the gruffness in his voice. It sounds, you know, like new Peter Gabriel. And then Steve Hackett, I guess, did a lot of the guitar stuff over because he feels like he's better now too, and he is. That's the problem. They're all better musicians, yes, but we want a era specific. The whole point of it is that you have this artifact from, you know, 1974, from a tour that was criminally handled. Like they should be put in music jail for the way that tour was handled. They didn't shoot any video, and at the time it was like the most over-the-top show that anyone had ever done in music. Like, not even close, right? No one had that kind of multimedia thing going on. They were like U2's Zoo TV before there was Zoo TV, you know? Fucking 20 years earlier. No one had the foresight to record this thing. Now, I know camera work and all that stuff, I know cameras are expensive, but we have a lot of stuff from the prior years. You know, we have a lot of stuff from TV shows, or, you know, there's a lot of stuff out there from the Selling England period, and even there's some stuff from Foxtrot as well. So, I don't understand that. Now, at the time, one thing that people may not understand, and I didn't understand really at first until I had a big think about it, they weren't very popular then. They were kind of in a slump. They weren't, not in a slump, but their upward trajectory kind of hit a bit of turbulence. They weren't selling out shows. Shows had to be canceled because of low ticket sales. You know, they weren't setting the world up. The way we look at The Lamb now is not how people were looking at it then. You know, then it was just like, oh, it's Genesis again with some weird, long album. You know, it was impenetrable for a lot of people at that time. It certainly wasn't looked at with the sort of prestige we look upon it now with. I mean, it was just another album from them, and one that didn't really produce any hit singles. You know, the tour wasn't really doing gangbusters. So, I mean, the interest probably wasn't there in documenting that whole thing, but I don't know. It is a shame. The only thing that comes close to it is another musical crime was cheap Rod Smallwood not recording the Somewhere in Time tour from Iron Maiden. They just did, you know, that Power Slave home video thing. You think they'd want another one, right? No, whatever. I'm not gonna. That's for another day. But so yeah, this Lamb show is a Frankenstein's monster creation that is neither fish nor fowl nor dog nor, it's nothing. It's like, I don't even know what you would call it or classify it as. Like, what is it? It's like New Pete, old band, supposedly. I don't want to be near kids when I'm smoking, but people insist on just, I swear sometimes they push their kids into me. It's like, Alright. Yeah, it's weird with people with kids. I'll be sitting on a wall smoking and these people come on and they fucking put their kid right next to me. It's like, what? Do you see what's going on? They don't see what's going on. They're barely aware of these people. We talk about this stuff all the time. Anyway, getting back to the important stuff. Yeah, I was so disappointed in this thing. If I'd bought it back then and paid the high price for it back then, I'd be so pissed. I bet people were. I just don't, like I said, I wasn't paying attention to the fan base back then. And then you come to the other show they have on there, and he's fucking redoing the vocals on that too. You know, that Supper's Ready. Got new Pete on it. It's got new Hackett on it. It's mental. What is this thing? Like, what was the point of this? I know I'm 20 years late to the fucking outrage party on this, but it's mind-boggling. And to present this as a found lamb show, or that's fucking consumer fraud, man. That's consumer fraud on the level of 80s Van Halen albums where they're 22 minutes long and 4 Kinks songs are on it. It's like that. It's like, what are you're lying. You know, this is a Frankenstein's, like, I wouldn't want that. I listened to it once, and I kind of even skipped through it at that, and I'm like, I would never play this thing. Like, I would never listen to it again. Like, why would you? It's not anything. It's 94 Pete over, from what they claim to be old music tracks, and I don't even know what's new with Steve Hackett. It's just ridiculous. The one thing I did like that came out of those sessions at mid-90s sessions, although it wasn't released until like 4 years later, was the updated Carpet Crawlers. I like that. I thought that was really good. Now, I don't like re-records. I hate when bands do that. But it turned Carpet Crawlers from this kind of weird, sort of quirky thing into like this almost anthemic kind of thing. This uplifting sort of track was made out of a really kind of dark, kind of quirky, creepy kind of song from what it originally was. Now, whether or not you think that's a good thing, you know, I mean, I of course will always take the original, but I think they did a really good job with that. And to get both Phil and Pete singing on it, and at the time, I don't even remember seeing that. I was surprised that wasn't more of a big deal, because, you know, even into the 90s, well, Phil at that time was kind of on a down. He was on the, he was doing the Dance into the Light thing, and he was sort of on the other side of the hill in popularity. And Pete kind of wasn't doing anything either. I mean, we're now 6 years away from us, you know, so. But still, they still had a lot of cachet, like in the 90s, as far as artists. I would have thought that would have been a bigger deal. But I guess it wasn't. Now, Trevor Horn produced that track. Trevor Horn is awesome. And I think about, man, imagine if he could have wrangled them in to do some kind of album with him producing. I don't know if that was maybe the idea or a possibility was there, because why else would they bother bringing him in just for this one track? It was almost like it was a test run or something. Maybe not, but I feel like it could have been. But, you know, like always, and at that time, the first discussion started for a possible Lamb reunion. And then they happened again, I think in 2007, right before the three-piece Genesis went out. Originally, they were going to get together and do the Lamb. When they couldn't make that happen, the three-piece went out, and then you had that Turn It On Again tour. But I think there was a time in between as well when it was talked about. Now, I don't know how you would do that, because most people, when you say Genesis, they think of Phil Collins and Invisible Touch, Studio. You know, they're thinking of that shit. The wider population of Masters of the Asses. So, yeah, I don't know who that would play to. Peter Gabriel, of course, is a big draw. He can tour on his own. Phil can, and Genesis used to be able to just tour on their own. But I don't know how you'd package that, because I think I don't know why I'm even getting into this line of thinking, but it's fun to think about. Would you do the whole Lamb? Probably not, because I mean this would be a rare thing. So you'd want to do. I think people want to hear Watching the Skies and I Know What I Like and things like that. I mean, I don't know. It's Eric July. The it was though, wasn't it? You got a lot of Eric Chalais around here now. The easiest spot because we never had them before. That's another topic for another day. But yeah, so I don't know what you would have done, and where would that have played? That's not like a stadium really type gig. An arena, possibly. I don't know. I don't even know what you do with that. And I think maybe that's part of what ultimately happened to that idea. It's like, what do you do with this? Because they wanted to stage the Lamb, specifically. That's what they were talking about doing, because not a lot of people got to see it, so they wanted to do it. But then do you just do that? I don't know. It was weird. So anyway, Pete kind of bailed on that whole idea. I don't think they're going to get him to do anything anyway. He does things at his own pace. I mean, Jesus, man, it took him 20 years to make this new album. You know, I want him to live as long as Tony, but I don't think we're going to see another solo album from Peter Gabriel in his lifetime. That's the thing that sucks. It's like Bowie, right? When Bowie died, or when he was moved off the board after giving a eulogy about himself on that news show. It was so funny because I mean, it's clearly him sitting there talking about himself. But yeah, they released some of the best shit after he died, like all these great shows from the 70s and even the 80s and 90s, all this rare stuff. Every year there's like a new Bowie thing that comes out that's worth having. All this great stuff. So while, you know, I want them to live forever, if they were to move on from here, is that the only time we're going to start seeing stuff? I don't know. Now, is that a good trade? No, I'd rather they live and not have, it's not that important to me. I'd rather see the guys, you know, they've given me a lot of good times over the years and joy, so you don't, you know. It's kind of even a morbid thing to talk about, but it is a thing, you know, because you see these other guys that they drop off and then all this stuff comes out. But I don't know, that Archive 1 thing is a joke. And I know because it's 2024 and I'm like being outraged about it in my room, yelling about it to Nia. Whatever. They could release more stuff though, I hope they do. So that's been Genesis Talk. Good, huh? Alright. I guess that's it. I'm tapped out. I'm home anyway. Until next time, don't blame the teacher, blame the school.